There are 60 figures in this book that add up to over 100 illustrations if you count multi-part figures. There's also close to 100 tables. I don't plan to show any of the tables in the videos. I'm only showing the figures that are enhanced by animation and that stand on their own, meaning that they aren't easily misinterpreted. I was going to skip figure 4 because it's just a static spectrum which I didn't think could be enhanced by animation. But I decided to use it as an opportunity to revisit figure 1 and show how the different frames of mind apply to it. Figure 4 is a spectrum between the extreme of science and the extreme of art. The black circles represent broad and general concepts along the spectrum. The white circles represent where more specific examples generally apply to the spectrum. In an earlier video, I said I use colors consistently throughout the book, with figure 3 being the only exception. You may have noticed that there is 2 different colors used to represent science. The light green shown in figure 2b represents natural or physical sciences, which I will explain later in the book. The light teal or turquoise color used in figure 4 represents science in general. The salmon color represents art. How does figure 1 apply? Figure 1a doesn't apply at all. Because figure 1a fails to think in terms of overlap, it's impossible to make a spectrum at all. Figure 1c also wouldn't apply because it wouldn't be able to add points or examples to the spectrum for fear of oversimplifying the concepts. The 2 figures that do apply are figures 1b and 1d. Figure 1b is a spectrum which appears crisp. The light teal or salmon colors would only represent the binary ends of the spectrum. The purple overlap would make up the fuzzy bulk of the spectrum. This doesn't quite match the proportions of figure 2b. 2b would have to look more like this to match, but it would still be a crisp set, and it would still be misleading if you consider the elements that make up science and art. To use the figure 1d frame of mind, the science end of the spectrum would represent the extreme center of the spectrum, while the art end would represent the extreme outer end of the spectrum. As shown in the first video, it uses elements that separate the superset from the subset. If the z variable represents subjectivity, as in figure 2a, then removing subjectivity would move you towards the science end of the spectrum. I use more refined elements later in the book. Hopefully this makes figure 4 and all the previous figures a bit easier to understand. This is the last video of chapter 1. I look forward to your feedbacks in the comments about this video or the book. Thanks for watching!